Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so for today's this session, there are four topics that, though they are very broad in aspect, but I shall try to cover all these things so that once it is needed, that you can adapt to all these packages as per your requirement. So first of all, I just want you to give a brief introduction about NumPy, right? So generally, what happens, a lot of data that we do on computer, for computing, we use this in terms of metrics. So it is required that there is a need that there should be some special packages or software should be there that can handle these matrices efficiently. Because ultimately, what happened, because as with the time our data is getting complex, like in terms of size or in terms of dimension. So what happens if we go for these traditional algorithms and approaches, it takes a lot of time, and what we need to do, computing efficiently, will not happen. So for that, there are some efforts that been made by scientists, and in that same effort there are some packages that do the things very efficiently, one of which is NumPy. Just in addition to this, this is just a library package which is there, available, which you can install or available in Python, right? Same time, as you might have heard about a lot of things about TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. So these are all things that are much advanced form of these things. What all other these packages do, that they are the abstraction of handling data in terms of matrices. So I will go step by step. So you please let me know wherever you feel difficulty in understanding. So as I said that, I hope that you might, in last 4 days, you might be familiar about what is Python and how to bring the packages or libraries, how to import those things. So with the same way, like you can import this NumPy library, and you can give an alias, right? Like generally what happens, you see that people rename this NumPy as NP, right? Though that it is not much required to do, but generally when you have to write 100 times, it is okay to just have a short form of the same thing. So you are just having alias NP, which always referred to as a NumPy, right? So I will go with some steps. What are the things that are available in NumPy, which is required for you to do data handling, right? One of this is arrange 15. So this is NumPy. In this NumPy, there is a function arrange. It will just start it, right? So for an example, if you just import NumPy and run this, right? And when you try to see what happens, what is there in A, you will see that there is a array which is from 0 to 14 is being assigned to this A, right? So this is a function available in NumPy known as arrange. What it do, it initialize a number from 0 to n minus 1. N minus 1 means 15 is available here, so it means from 0 to 14 you will get an array like this, right? So this array you have assigned to this variable A, and now this A is nothing but it's an array from 0 to 14, right? If it is required for that this array, you can even reshape it. Reshape means, if you just see the dimension of this array. So if you see the dimension of this array, so what you can do, what is the dimension of this array? So the dimension of this array, just a minute. So the dimension of this array is 1 here, right? So here you can see that this is a one-dimensional array. And if it is required that you want to do some, you want to initialize some array randomly or sequentially in some formats, what you can do, you can take a help of one function known as reshape. What this reshape will do, it will take a one-dimensional array and put it into 3 by 5 dimension array, right? For example, if you run this now, what will happen? It will take this one-dimensional array from 0 to 14 and put it into 3 rows and 5 columns, right? And each row will be, it is happening because the number of elements available in at first was exactly 15. If you try to do with some different number, it may not be possible, right? Just a minute. For example, if the elements in original array could be 16, and then if you try to do the same thing, right? So just a minute. So if you are taking some array, original array, for example, you are taking what? You are taking some original array A, right? So you are reshaping it, right? You are reshaping it into 3 to 15. But if the original array is not exactly having 15 elements, then there could be an error, because it has to see, like, because there are 16 elements from 0 to 15, and you are trying to just put it divide into 3 by 5. So you need to see, like, while reshaping, that element should be exactly into the shape. Like, for example, now the new shape of this array will be 3 by 5. And if you see the dimension of this matrix now, which is now 2 dimension, if it is a 2 dimension array now, at first, when you started with A, it was having 1 dimension. Now you just reshaped it, and now the dimension of this array will be 2 dimension. It is 3 by 5, right? So by default, if you want to check, there could be different data types available for your work. It may be integer, float. So if you need to know, like, what is the type of array, what is the type of data that has been assigned to this matrix, it is shown that it is integer, right? Integer. It is also possible that you can assign the same thing with the float, right? So if you see the type of this A, it is showing that it is a num. So what is meant by type? It says that this A is nothing but an object. So in object-oriented language, when you go for this software, when you go for these languages, right? So there can be functional language in an object-oriented language. So this Python is a completely object-oriented language. Every object, every parameter, every variable is available here in Python is actually an object of one class, right? It may be possible that you are not getting these things. It's okay. So if you just try to know, like, what is the type of this A, so it shows that this falls under the class NumPy, and it is nothing but the object is n-dimensional array, right? So the type is n-dimensional array. If you similarly just try to see that what is type 1, it is a constant, right? And if you try to see what is this type A, so it shows that it is a string. So similarly, what you're doing here is, what you're seeing here is that it is a dimensional NumPy array, right? So on the same way, like, is there anybody have any question? I think somebody have mic is unmute. So similarly, like integer, you can do it for this float, right? And again you check, because you see that this the dimensions here is one, the data that you are assigned to this array B is 1.23.5, which is float, right? If you check here now, it is that when you see that it shows that it shows that float 64 rather than showing integer 64, which was before, because you have used decimal here, right? So another things that are available here, it may be possible that you may be needing for your work some array which is having some particular shape and it should be filled with zeros, right? So in that case, this NumPy has a special function known as zeros. What you need to do, you just need to parse a shape. Shape I already told you, right? It is just nothing, but it is nothing, but it's a shape of a matrix. So you are trying to say that I want to call a function from NumPy, NP is NumPy. You're trying to call a function 0, and you're saying that I want to assign initialize a matrix 3 by 4 with nothing but all zeros, right? So when you print this A, you will see that all zeros are there here, right? You can do this for some different shape also, like for example 10 comma 4. And if you just try to print it, you see that it is nothing but 10 by 4, right? So similarly, right now I'm just trying to show you a two-dimensional array. If you go, it in general, you can have any n-dimension arrays. For an example, if you try to initialize an array of 3 dimension with nothing but all ones, right? So if the dimension here is 3, so it is 2 by 3 by 4, right? So 3 to the 6, 4 is a 24. There are total 24 elements, and the dimension of this array is 3 dimension. It is 3-dimensional array, and what is assigned to each element? 1 is initialized, right? If you run this code, you see here that there are actually 2. What does this 2 shows? There are 2. This is these 2, right? 1 and 2. So first dimension says how many blocks are there. The second dimension shows how many rows are there in each block, right? There are 3. And the fourth dimension shows how many columns are there in each row, right? So there are 4. So likewise, if you see here, it is 2 by 3 by 4, and there are total 24 elements, right? No, similarly, that I just told you that arrange, when you had just at first you started with this arrange 15, right? And what you did, you saw that there are 15 elements you can initialize. Not only this, but you can also do this thing. What it says that you just start from 10, you go till 30, and each element should be separated by 5, right? So it is 10, 15, 20, and 25, right? So this arrange has a much. This arrange is capable of doing and defining a discretized steps, right? But if you want to go in some fraction, right? So there is another function known as linear space. What it says that, so if you start from 0, you go to till 2, you can divide this interval into 9 equal sub intervals, right? And if you just do this, right, uh, you will get this, right? You please stop me if you have any difficulty. Right? So in this linear space, that what you do here is, it can able to define, where for example you want to define a function, right? If you guys are from mathematics and you want to plot some function, and that function is nothing but a sinusoidal function, what you can do, you can say that this is x is equals to, you want to define it from 0 to some pi, and p dot pi, right? And you want to define some 100 time intervals here, right? So if you want to see how x look like, so there are, right? So then what you can do, y is equals to np dot sine of x, right? And if you want to plot it, uh, so it is much later in the course, but import, I will try import. plot. Then you can do plt x comma y. Plt dot plot, right? So then you can define this interval here, 2 into 2 pi. So here I'm just doing several things, like just to be very precise, what I'm doing in this first row, I am just defining some, I'm taking on x-axis, I'm defining some 100 steps, right? So this x is a vector, it is having some 100 element, and these elements are defined between 0 to 2 pi, right? And for every element, because x is a vector, so there are 100 elements. For every element, what I'm doing, I'm calculating the sinusoidal of that function. That is why now, if I want to see like how this plot look like, what there is a library known as matplotlib, right? So this is exactly originally it was available in MATLAB, but because of this versatile functionality, it is also available in Python, in this Python, and you can import it as matplotlib, right? So this is a matplot library, and in this there is this sub package pyplot. So you are just importing it as plt, which is nothing but an alias. So you are, because you don't want to type this much big thing, so you are just writing it as a plt. And then if you write now plt, so you are just saying that you are asking matplot, this library, to plot what, to plot x on this first dimension and y on other dimension, right? And when you plot this, so this is so fine that it look like a curve, right? And if you just take this one, if let's say you just define it only 10 interval, right? So you can see that this is only 10 here. Let's say I just take 3 only, 4 or, right? So you can see that there are only 4 elements. One is defined here, the other is defined here. Can you see, guys, my cursor when I'm moving it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So when I say that x is there, so x is nothing but it's just a okay, I'll show you. So x is nothing here, but it's a x, right? So x is a vector here, just a vector, right? It's having 4 element only. And if you write y, if you see y, so it just print x and print print y. So if you see here, so for this is the value that are there in between 0 to 2 pi. So there are 4 points where you have taken x. So this is at 0. This is some 2.09, 4, and 6, right? For all these points, you have taken sinusoidal of it, and the value of sinusoidal of these points are this. When you plot it, you will get this, right? So you are getting this. So because there are only 4 elements, so it's look like very zigzag, right? So just to smoothen this, what you take, you just take some lot of points where you want to define sinusoidal, and it look very smooth here now, right? So yeah, so I already told you that I have used a matplot library here with the name with alias plt, and it has a functionality to plot these vectors x and y, right? And like, because you guys, most of you guys are from mathematics, so this package have a lot of functions that you can use for your purpose, right? For example, if you take a cos, so it takes the even I think it is having exponential also, right? So you can just take it, you can take minus, if you want to define like a quadratic function, like in Gaussian what we have, you can do this, right? So because Gaussian is defining here 0, so you want to shift an interval. So what you can do, you can define from -1, right? So here even let's say -2 pi, right? Rather than from 2 pi to -2 pi. Control C. Control V. So this is a way like I have, this is not normalized, but it's look like a Gaussian. So it's up to you like what functions you want to define, and it has a capability of doing all this, right? Okay. So print you have already seen how I'm using it. Linspace already you have seen how I'm using it, right? Okay, so the much of the capabilities lying in like how you can easily handle the matrices here, right? So for an example, this is what we have used reshape for this taking 0 to 11 elements and putting it into 4 rows and 3 columns, right? Even you can reshape into more than 2 dimension, that is like here this is 3 dimension, right? So you can reshape into 3 dimension. So all these are okay. So there are some operations you need to see very carefully here, right? So this is very common feature in NumPy. You might have seen this before in this workshop. So for an example, I have one array A, right? This is a NumPy array. So this is 20, 30, 40. It's a one dimensional array. I have one another element, right? Oh, sorry. So this is one another vector from 0 to 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3 because it is arranged, right? So when you subtract A minus B, what happens? It takes a corresponding vector. It takes a corresponding element of each vector. For an example, just to show you this thing, Control X, print A, print B. So if you see these are two vectors, right? 20, 30, 40, 50. And this has a second vector B, which we have taken like Z from 0 to 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. If I'm subtracting it now, right? If I'm subtracting it now from A to B, what will happen? It will take a corresponding element and subtract it 1 to 1, right? And then you will get this C, right? If now you see this C here, Control X. So this is 20 minus 0 is 20, 30 minus 1 is 29, 40 minus 2 is 38, 50 minus 3 is 47, right? So when you just define a subtraction here, it look like there is it is happening on a vector rather than it is happening on element, right? Okay. So there are something that is there. For an example, now you have some vector C. For an example, if I just write C before then this. So what is there in C? So C is having 20, 29, 38, 47. And if you want to multiply each element with some number, let's say 10, so it will get 200, 290, 380, and 470, right? If you want to square every element here, like in C, what is there? In C, you are having this 20, 29, 38, 47. If you want to square every element in this vector, you can use this operation. It is like asterisk. So what will happen? It is nothing but a square, right? So in Python, if you need to define how to what is a square, if you want to do a some square of a vector, you just define a vector here, which is C, and you take this number. Even you can do it for single element also. For example, 2 to the power 3, right? 2 to the power 3, if you just define, if you just run this, it is 8, right? 2 to the 4 to the 8. So here you are defining it on a whole vector, and this is what it is. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to show here is that in NumPy there are matrices. What you can do, there are some operations, you can plot them, you can subtract them, you can manipulate them with different arithmetic operations. And so if now this is vector to vector, if you want to generalize it, so this is like if A, you are defining A, which is a two-dimension matrix, you are defining B, which is again a two-dimension matrix. If you want to print A and B, this look like this, right? So print A, print B, right? So these are two matrices, right? And if you want to multiply these two matrices element wise, right? What I'm trying to say here, one should be multiplied with two only. 1 with multiplied with this 0, right? This 0 will multiplied with 3. So I am doing element wise product, right? I have element wise multiplication. So if you do element wise multiplication, the result that you will get, you can do it by just multiplying it with the asterisk. So it is an element wise product. You should be very careful while using this, right? So most of the time you may be expecting different answer, but you are doing wrong operation. If you want to do matrix multiplication, this is what you need to do. This is a at the rate b, right? So if you do a into b, this is what you get. 2 ones are 2, first element, 3 0 0 0, 0 1 0, 4 1 4, right? So it is the element wise product. But if you want to do matrix multiplication, rather than using this asterisk, you need to do this at the rate, which is a shortcut. There is another alternative way to do a matrix multiplication, which is known as dot product. So you just take a, take a dot. So it is dot, but in mathematics, just it is simply taken as a like a by the same operation word. It is a dot product, right? What you do in linear algebra. So a dot b. So if you take a two dot products of two matrices, it is nothing but it is the same matrix multiplication, which is right a at the rate b, right? Again, all these things have been covered. Okay, so there is one another thing that you can do here on the matrices is, for example, you are having one matrix which look like this. So it is having 3 rows and 4 columns. If you want to add every element, right, you can add these elements column wise, right? 0 4 8, or row wise, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So you have a flexibility of taking these operations either row wise or column wise or on any dimension, because it's a general matrix, right? It is a 3 dimension, 4 dimension, 5 dimension. So if you need to do some operation on some particular dimension, what you can do here is, this matrix is b, this b, you are saying that sum, do a sum on axis 0, right? Axis 0 means column wise. So you just add 0 4 8, which is 12, 1 5 9 is nothing but 15, 10 6 2 is 18, 11 7 3 is nothing but 21, right? So you are doing some summation column wise. But if somebody wants to do the summation on row wise, he need to just specify that axis equals to 1, and he will get three these numbers, right? 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, right? 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 is 22, and 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 is 38. Okay, you can do even the further, you can also do these things if you want to do, if you take a minimum along column or row wise or column wise. For example, this is my b matrix. What you can do here, you're saying take a minimum of each column, right? In this column 0 is minimum, in this column 1 is minimum, in this column 2 is minimum, in this column 3 is minimum, right? So for every, you are taking a minimum column wise. So it may not be making much sense to you right now, guys, but when you do some data analytics or some operations, I'm audible now?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay. So, yeah, where I was, so I was saying that it may not be making much sense to you guys right now, but these operations, when you see, when you do data analytics, right? So that size of a data is huge there. For example, if you're taking an image, it is a three-dimensional matrix in computer, because it may be having three channels, red, blue, and green, right? Because it for these originally, if you take these three colors, you can make any combination of colors. So in computer, you can represent image by three-dimension matrix, right? And first channel is for red color, the other channel is for green color, and another channel is for blue color. And you can do a lot of operations on these things. And because image size can be 1 million by 1 million pixel, and it is hard to see by my eyes or by zooming in or out the what is the things there, then you have to have go for to adopt all these methods there, right? So if you want to see like what is a minimum in column, you can do axis 0. If you want to see what is a minimum in row, you can do this, right? So here in first row, the minimum is 0. The second row, the minimum is 4. And the third row, the minimum is 8, right? So like I told you, you cannot, you can do in general, you can take a vector, which is this from 0 to 9, and you can just you can raise any power to it, not only square, you can do 3, add even 30, right? So it can go for to any large number, right? And it depends upon what kind of data type you have taken. Okay, so just for understanding, I will make it cut short. So this is my matrices here. So there is one very important operation in matrix known as slicing, right? So what slicing says that if you want to extract only these numbers, right? What you can do, what are is there anything that you can do here, right? So what you can do here is that you can take starting index, like from where you want to slice it, and from till where you want to slice it, right? For an example, what it says that this is 0th index, this is first, and this is second index, right? From second to fifth, so second, third, fourth, and fifth. So what happens here in this Python, the last index, right, 5. So it takes a slice from 2 to 4. It is like when you are taking an AND index, so it takes AND minus 1. So if you are taking a slice from 2 to 5, so it actually it takes 2, 3, and 4, which is 8, 27, and 64, right? So it is 8, 27, and 64. Fine. Any questions till here? I'm connected, just a small feedback so that I can go further. Can you hear me, guys? Yes or no?
No question.
Okay, fine. Good. So, for an example, there are some other things that you want to do. For example, if you're a coder and you might have seen some programs, if you want, I ask you to reverse the if I ask you to reverse an array, then you need to write some 4 to 5, 6 line of code there. But in this NumPy, in this Python, it is quite easy. What you can do here is this, right? So it takes a matrix, it takes an array 0, 1, 2, 3, and just to reverse, you can just say you need to write this only, right? And it will reverse. So it's just a very small, minute operations there, and by that you can get all these things. Fine. Not only this, in general, you can do a slicing in 2 dimension also. For an example, I have a 2 dimension array B, right? The dimension here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4, right? So I have a matrix B, which is for the dimension of this matrix is 5 by 4. If somebody will ask me like whether I can take a first column here, right? So whether I can take a first column. So this is a 0th column, right? And this is my first column. This is my second column. This is third column, right? To be consistent, I will start my counting from 0. So this is my first column, right? So if I want to take my first column, so this second index says that you need to take your first column, right? And this first index says that for what rows. So you are saying for all rows from 0 to 5, right? So because I said that in slicing it takes from 0 to 4, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So because 5 it will not count, it counts from till 4. So you say that from rows 0 to 4 you take the first column. If you say that from 0 to 4 you take the 0th column, what you will get? You will get this 0, 10, 20, 30, and even you can go for like some other slicing. You say that from 0 to 2, 0, 1, 2, what are the elements available in first column, right? So these are 0, 10, 20. So this is 0, this is 10, and this is 20. And in general, you can go to any column, right? And in reverse of it, you can do it for every row also, right? For if you say that I want to take from second row, I want to slice only from 1 to 4, right? From 1 to 4. So what it says 0, 1, 2, this is my second row here, right? So this is my second row, and I want to slice from 1 to 4. So I'm interested in 1, 2, 3, right? Because 4 is there, but but slicing says that you can take only till n minus 1. So because it is 4 available, so you can take for only up to third. So 1, 2, 3, which is 21, 22. So if you go beyond the index, you will get error, right? For example, I'm saying that in row second, right? In row second, you need to take 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Rather than 1, 2, 3. What will happen? It just says that the only available element here is 2, 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, 23, and beyond it, it is not available, right? So, okay. So let me type B again so that it will be visible to you guys. So this is my B matrix again, what on which I am doing some manipulation. I am saying in general, if you want, if you by default you want to go for every row here, you can define a column. So what this column says that you can by default you are taking every row, and for every row you are going for first column, right? So this is 1, 11, 21, 31, and 41. So this column is saying for every row, and if you say for every row and for every column, what will happen? It will give you by default the same matrix, right? And if you are saying for my second row, for my third row and all columns, it will give you a third row, right? 30, 31, 32, 33, right? So this slicing is very good in sense. For example, you are having some image, you want to extract some face out of it. So manually, though generally we don't do it in this image processing or deep learning or machine learning. But if you want to do it, you can slice it manually also by finding out what are the coordinates there, and from that coordinate you can extract that same segment of that image, right? So as I told you that it is by default, it is taking first all rows, first column. You can do slicing in rows also from 1 to 3 for all columns, and it is, you can do it, right? What negative one says, if you just give it to the matrix, two-dimension matrix, it always say the last index, right? By default, -1 says the last index in a dimension. So if you see that the last index is nothing but a 4, right? It is a two-dimension array, and you have just defined only one element here, so it will take the rows by default. So it says it's the last row, right? Okay. And in general, you can do it for right now. I'm showing all these things on 2 dimension. You can do it in 3 dimensions. So C is here is a 3-dimension array. And if you want to, if you are sure what the shape of the C is, C dot shape, right? So you are interested in what are the dimension of it is 2 by 2 by 3, right? So it is a 3-dimension array. So what it says that you are interested in first block, right? So this first block is this one, right? because I told you that the counting starts from 0. So you're specifying that I am interested in first block, all rows and all columns. So you say that I'm interested in first block. If you just say that first block and first column, right? So what is this? You are in the first block and this is your first column, 101 and 112, right? So this is the first column. So if you say first row, first block, first row and all columns. So it will give you 110, 112 and 130. Is this clear to you guys? Any questions so far? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So slicing, you can do it on any dimension, 1, 2, 3, right? So for this, generally you can iterate it also on the matrix. So this me is a matrix. When you iterate it, it will go to the first index. So iterator will get on a first index. So it will take first row, print it, then it is a loop, it go for second row, print it, this is third row, print it, fourth row and print it, right? So likewise, this you are looping on it. There is another nice operations available here if you want to loop for every element rather than for row. As I loop it on every row here. If I want to loop on every element, you just flat that matrix. Flat means you're not caring what are the dimensions here. So you are taking all elements in one dimension and just iterating on every element and then printing it one by one. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Till 30, 43, right? So just to flat, there is this is one operation to flat the matrix. This is b dot flat, and there is another operations in data science which you see that people use it very frequently. It is revel, right? So it takes a matrix B and revel it, right? So revel this operation, it just converted to some n-dimension matrix into one-dimension matrix, right? So just a close observation here, guys. If you just so you can see that I am asking this function to revel it, right? I am asking this function to make it in a one dimension, but it is returning me this one dimension array. It is not manipulating the original array. When I am printing my array B, it is still the two-dimension array. So these functions, what it do, it make a copy and then do some manipulations and return it. So it is not modifying the original object here. It is very important to see and understand here, right? Okay. So this is b dot reshape. Again, that I'm doing reshape. Okay. So in matrix, you want to do some transpose also. So this b is here, right? You want to do convert. You want to take a transpose. Simple thing. You take b dot t. So it is b, a big matrix. You take a dot operator. You do b dot t. Excuse me. So b dot t, it will take a transpose of the whole matrix B, right? Again, it is just returning an object. It is returning a modified object, but it is not modifying an original array. Okay. Okay. So we have done a transpose operation. Okay, so there is another nice operation available here is, for an example, was my original matrix B, and you are not sure like how many you want to reshape it, but there are some number of elements which can divide it equally, but you are not sure about like how many columns can happen over all these numbers. It may be some uncountable number, but you want to convert it to some five rows and not caring like how flat it will be, like how many columns it have. So in that case, what you say that I am very specific about my rows and rest of the elements you can divide in any number of columns. So you just specify -1 here, and when you run it, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm not doing any meaningful thing here. So it has total 20 elements, right? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 is a 20. So let's say I just want to say that I want two rows, and I'm not caring like how many columns will be there. What it will do, it will take these two rows, and because there are 20 elements in each row, it will put 10 elements, right? Even you can do vice versa. If you are saying I just want two columns, right? I want two columns, and I'm not caring like how many rows can happen over these two columns. So you can do this also. So -1 on 2, comma 2, right? Okay. Sometimes you need to initialize a number array, right? So there are some random function in NumPy, and in this random function there are a lot of
Sir, will you please explain resize?
sorry, can you repeat your question?
Will you please explain resize? Resize, sir.
Resize. Okay, have I gone through? Okay, okay, okay. Sorry. So this resize, what it do, it also do the same thing what reshape do, right? So for an example, I am right now having this B matrix. The moment I just run resize, you see that it is modifying the original array now. The difference between resize and reshape is when I do reshape, so it takes a matrix, manipulate it, and return me a copy, but it doesn't touch a original copy, right? But when I do resize, you see here that this is my B matrix, right? This was my B matrix, and it is 5 by 4. I run reshape, it is 2 by 10. But then when I again run my B, it is again this original matrix. But when I resize it, it just modify my original matrix, like here. The moment I run resize, it give me this, right? So it is modifying original. This is the only difference, right? Did you get this? What is the difference between reshape and resize?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So I was there here, like I was saying that if you want to initialize some matrix, right? So in that matrix, this NumPy, you have function random, and this random you are saying that I want to initialize some numbers. These numbers are 3 to the 6, three rows and 2 columns, and each number should be initialized through a normal distribution, right? So each element is you have taken randomly one by one from a normal distribution, but it is a standard normal distribution, mean 0 and deviation 1. So you can see like most of the numbers are integers here between 0 to 1, or between -1 to 1. So you can multiply it 10, right? So it can scale that by 10. Even if you want to scale it with 100, it's fine. It depends upon your requirement, like what you want to do. So what this rand 3, 2, what it do, it just take elements from a normal distribution with this mean 0 and deviation 1, and it up to you like how would you scale. So if you just run it specifically, you every element here, if you plot it histogramically, you see a normal distribution the pattern here, right? Okay. Okay, so let's see some other functionalities now. Okay, so I have one matrix A, the dimension is 3 by 2. Let's say I have some another matrix B, the dimension is again 3 by 2. So sometimes it is required that you want to club your matrices, either like you want to stack one over the other, or you want to just concatenate it side by side. So there are two specific functions for these things. If you want to stack one over another, so you can do V stack, right? V stack means vertical stacking. So you are putting A above B, right? So this A is here. This A is, oops, let me run this. So this A is here, right? So this A is here. this B is below this A, right? This B is below this A. So this is a vertical stacking. You are putting matrices one over other, right? So you can have any number of matrices A, B, comma, C, comma, D, comma, E, and what it do, it just put over one. But the requirement is that here column should match. Rows doesn't matter, but columns matter. So if the matrices which you are vertically stacking over each other, all columns should match. Every matrix column should be equal, right? Even you can do it for horizontal stacking, right? So this is my first matrix till here, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is my second matrix here, right? In this horizontal stacking, the number of rows should be equal. Okay. Okay, so there are some but other element operations also. For example, this is an array A, right? What you can do, you just assign, you might have seen it before in last 4 lectures or in this week, that you might be initializing one object to another, to the another, right? So when you do B equals to A, what will happen? This B will also refer to the same array. It will not create new array. So there will be no 2 copies in a memory. When I say that there will be no 2 copies in a memory, I hope like you understand this statement, right? So when you just create an object, it takes some space in a computer. When you do B equals to A, it says that you don't need to create an extra space. B is also referring to the same space. So it is nothing but 2 names of a same memory location. So if you modify this B now, what will happen? A will also get modified, right? So why I'm specifically telling you this, because there can be a lot of errors there is a lot of unexpected error come into your code if you don't get all these minute subtle points here, right? So if I just say you just put 55 at row 1 and column 1, right? At row 1 and column 1. So this is my row and column 1. So rather than 5, we want to replace it with 55. In B, you will see that the same effect will happen in A also, because both are referring to the same location, right? So you see, I am printing B, so you are having 55 in B. I am printing A, you are having 55 in A also, because A and B are not 2 different guys, but they are same matrices, right? Okay, you can do some logical operations also in these matrices. For an example, I take a matrix A, which is this 0, 1 to 11. What I can do now, I am saying that in A, you just filter all those elements which are greater than 4, right? I'm interested in knowing which are those elements which are greater than 4. So if I just do this, so B is a matrix and it is a Boolean matrix now, and it says wherever it is false, it means A is not greater than 4, and where it is true, it is greater than 4. For an example, if you come here, so it is greater than 4, yes, it is greater than 4, yes, it is greater than 4, yes, all these entries are greater than 4. That's why these all entries are true and rest of the entries are false, right? So just in one step, you say that A is greater than 4, your B is nothing, but it says yes, it is nothing now, a filter. And if you want to filter it, what you can do, guys, smartly, what you can do now, if you want to filter these things, you can do element wise product. So you just take A multiply by B, right? And you will get all those entries which are greater than 4, and rest of the elements will be 0, right? So A dot B means you have just created a filter here. B is nothing but is a filter, and you're filtering all those elements which are greater than 4. And this is how smartly you can get this. So that's I've already told you. Okay, this is also a very smart operation here. So I said that B is a filter. What I'm saying, I'm putting my, this is a matrix. Rather than indexing it specifically, I am passing a filter at this index. So wherever it is false, wherever it is true, right, it puts 0. Wherever it is true, it puts 0. So when you took A, B equals to 0, so this, wherever it qualifies, it puts equals to 0. and because it is qualifying here and here, so all our elements are 0. So you can see like you don't need to run these recursive loops. Like if there are 10 dimensions, then for I, for j, for k, for l, for m, and you can go double sanitizer. Are you doing something here? Um, I'm audible, guys, now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me reshare this screen. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. So now I've just completed this NumPy, right? So this is a brief introduction because NumPy is pretty huge. It depends upon your practice, how much you practice you are doing with this, and it day by day will you getting expert on this, right? So it's a brief introduction so that you should not be afraid of seeing all these expressions sometime, and just by scrolling internet here and there, you will get to know like what these things are doing there, right? So I'll just take a small break for 5 minutes and we'll start with this pandas now, right? What are pandas and how you can, what all things you can do here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, can we start now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the other important package that you need to know in Python is this pandas, right? So what these pandas do, it helps you to play with your code, play with your data. It helps you to manipulate with your data very easily, right? So for an example, uh, I want to show you this. So this code is available. This is a CSV file actually, right? So this is a CSV file. Okay, so this is a CSV file and it looked like this, right? So I have uploaded it on my GitHub repository. So I will share this link. So it is available on the internet. Even this whole uh, my this Jupyter notebook is also available on GitHub. You can go and download it from there and you can play with this code. So this small code, this small CSV file I've uploaded there itself. What it have a 4 rows. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and in each row there are 4 columns: artist, genre, listeners, and plays. Right. So in case if you are like if you don't know pandas, what pandas do, so you can read this CSV file, right? So it has a lot of different function capability to read a data. So right now I'm reading it from the CSV file, right? From where it is given on this URL. You can even read this file from your local hard disk or local memory, right? So there are different ways to do it. You need to explore all those things. Right now I'm reading it from my GitHub repository. So this is the file, very small file, 4 rows and 4 columns, right? And if once you read it, right? So what I'm saying that import pandas as PD. So it is alias here, PD. And I'm saying that PD read CSV, read a CSV file from this location URL, which is this one, right? And because this I have intentionally saved it using a comma delimiter in CSV file. So it is saying that nothing, but it is saying that you are reading a file from a comma, right? The delimiter is a comma here, right? So the delimiter is comma here. So now whatever you have read it from a CSV file, it comes in this DF, which is the object of a pandas. So DF is an object right now. So DF is having all the data that was there before in CSV temporarily in the RAM of your computer. Now you can manipulate this data with a lot of capabilities which are available in pandas, right? So for an example, if you are running my DF, what it says that, so it is saying that it have 4 rows and 4 columns, right? See, right, 4 rows and 4 columns. If I'm saying that I want what is my first so I can name my column specifically. So I'm saying that I need to see only my artist column, right? So there is no indexing here right now. I'm just referring it directly through the name. So for an example, I can refer it from that I'm interested in seeing listeners in this DF object, right? So what this listener says 0, 1, 2, 3, and all these having columns here. And you can write anything anywhere, whatever the things that you want to read here and print here. Right? Even you can do the same slicing what we have seen in that NumPy, right? So DF is now kind of a object which support this slicing. So you are saying that I am interested in seeing my first row and second row. I told you that in slicing that it runs to n minus n number. So this runs from for first and second row. So this was my originally a matrix here. This was originally my data. So I'm saying first row and second row. So I'm first and second row only, right? So I'm slicing this from 0 to 3. So it will not go till 3. So it takes only first and second row, which are these. Even you can just say like we can slice it through the particular column also, right? So what I'm saying, so you need to take a location function this call on this df object. What it says, you need to take only first, second, and third. So this is only an exception here. So far, what I have been doing in slicing, it runs from 1 to from 8 from 2 till and -1 dimension, right? For example, it is 3 is here, so it runs till 2. But this is only exception. It runs for all where it is defined. So it runs from 1 to 3. So it says that for particular column artist, you take all these 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. So this is 1, 2, 3. So you are saying for particular artist, you are taking these, but for particular column artist, you are taking 1, 2, 3 rows. So B, C, D. Right? So this is B, C, D is given. Even you can do some logical operations. You are saying that DF is having particular column genre. Wherever it is jazz, right? You just show me. So wherever it is jazz, just show me. So if you see here, this original matrix, this original DF data. So this data says that it has a genre which is jazz, rock, jazz, and pop. So you are only interested in seeing wherever it is jazz, right? So you can do some logical operation here and say that I am interested in seeing this particular column genre wherever it is jazz, right? And you're just interested in seeing this data. So you can do this, right? So this is again your data. You're saying that I am interested in seeing the data where my listeners are greater than 50, right? So listeners are greater than 50. So this is the only, okay, it is equal to, greater than equal to 50. So there are 2 rows, 50 and 100. So you will get these 2 rows, right? Okay. Sometimes you may not have you may have a data set where the values are not available. For an example, this is second data set. I am loading it. This is also available on my GitHub repository. So I intentionally have put it here, no value, right? So I am just putting it undefined. It may be possible in several times that the data is not available. The data is not available while recording the attributes, and most of the people just left it or it is unfilled there. So when you read it in pandas, so you see that it is not defined NaN, right? So either you have an option, you can drop all these not defined options Na, right? You can have an option. So wherever it is not defined, wherever whichever row is having an NA entry, right? So this first row is having an NA entry. So you are saying just drop this row and just to clean your data, right? So because this may give you a lot of complications if you're dividing uh, this listeners by plays, right? If you're dividing listener by plays, then automatically there is no sense. You are dividing 20 by a not defined value and it will give you an error. So you don't want to go into the want to fall into all these circumstances. So what you can do here is, do here is you can drop this uh, uh, rows wherever the data is not defined. Even if you are not, because sometimes the data is precious, right? And you don't want to lose it, because though this entry is not defined here, but these 20 rock and B is defined. So you don't want to lose it. So rather than falling into these complications, you just want to fill it with some number, maybe 0 or 1. So you have that attributes also, right? So it says that fill it with 0, right? So when you this NaN can be 0. Wherever in your data set NaN is there, you can fill with a specific value which you are defining, right? Okay, so I will take my old data set, which is clean and fine and perfectly defined. All number rows and columns have the defined values. So I still have a capabilities of doing a lot of operations here. So what I'm saying, this is genre. So the genre is having three attributes: jazz, rock, and pop. So I'm saying group by means you are just grouping it based on the attribute values. So you are saying whatever the attributes, unique attributes are there, just group them, right? So when you group them, right, and you want to sum them, sum is defined on some arithmetic number of arithmetic numbers only. So this column artist will not participate here. And when you just sum it, so jazz 150, it is 150, right? And jazz plays is 230, right? 230. Rest of the rows are only one tuple, so it will come as it is, right? Even you can add one extra column here, right? So for an example, there are four columns: artists, genre, listeners, and plays. So the fourth column may be average here, which can divide, which can you get, which you can get from dividing listeners by plays, right? So you can say that whatever the data I had, DF, I just want to add one extra column average here, right? Average here. And that average column should have a value such that it should divide respective listener values from the respective place value, because both are vectors of same dimension. This division makes sense, right? And you will get this extra column here by dividing 100 by 200, 20 by 130, and so on, right? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, that's great. So I'm just quite quickly trying to I'm trying to familiarize you with all those things that you can see in future while studying and doing machine learning or data science or statistics, right? So these are all things will be very, very helpful to you guys, like pandas and numpy. So though it is a very advanced concept now, PyTorch, I'm trying to cover it. How many of you guys ever heard about deep learning? Like,
No, sir.
no, okay. So I'll try to give you this thing, but it is advanced concept and by the name, so I will try to walk slowly on this. Uh, but I'm very much sure that most of you know what is linear regression. How many of you know linear regression? Anybody in the class know linear regression? Yes or no? It's okay. Just say.
No, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Just a minute then. Let me explain you briefly something about what I'm trying to teach you here is, right? Okay. Can you see this, guys?
Yes, sir.
It's a white empty slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what exactly I'm trying to tell you here in this code is this, right? For an example, I am having some data points. This is my 1 point, which is, let's say this is 1 and 1. So this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis, right? This is my x-axis and y-axis. So I have some another point, let's say 2, 3. So this is 2 here, right? And this is 3 here. So this is 2, 3. And let's say 3, 3. 3, 3 is somewhere here, right? So this is 1, 1. This is 2, 3. And this is 3, 3. Oops, it should be parallel here, right? Just a minute. So it should be parallel. So it is 2, 3, 3, right? So it is 3, 3. This point is 3, 3. So now what I'm trying to do here is I just want to fit a line here. Do you know, guys, what is a line? So line can be defined by some intercept and slope. So intercept is like how far it is from the origin on y-axis. So if it is this much far, so this is known as intercept here, right? And how inclined it is, right? For example, it is 45-degree inclined, so this is my slope. So this is the intercept, and how inclined it is a slope. So line can be defined by two parameters, intercept and slope. I hope that you have seen know these things, intercept and slope, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Intercept and slope. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to find out a line such that it will go through every of the point. So do you think that I can find a line which can go all these through all these 3 points?
No, sir.
No, very good. So these I cannot find a line which can go to all these 3 points because these points are not collinear, right? So what I can do now in this case, I want to do my best. So I want to find out a line which can go as much as close as possible, right? So what I will try to define one criteria here. So just a minute. So my criteria is such that, let's say this is my some line which I am trying to do. How far my point is from this line, right? How far my point is from this line. So if my point is this much far, right? So then I will calculate this distance. This is distance d1, this is distance d2, and this is distance d3, right? So what I will do, then I will just sum this distance d1 plus d2 plus d3, right? D plus d3. So this, then I will say that this is my distance which is away from the point. Then somebody say that I have some another line, right? So he may come up with this line, and the moment he will come up with this line, the distance which he will get is, let's say, x1, and this is x2, and x3 is almost 0, right? So the distance that a second guy will have x1 plus x2 plus x3. So what do you think, which guy is having, which guy is doing better, the first guy or second guy? Which is doing better?
Second guy.
Second guy.
Second one.
Yes, second one is doing better, right? So the criteria is such that you want to minimize this distance. The problem is this: if you can't add this distance as such, because sometimes the point is above the line, some point that the point is below the line, so it can cancel each other. For the example, this distance is -1 and this distance is +1, right? If you add these things, it will be 0. So just to avoid this thing, what you do square these numbers, right? So if you square this number, so that negativity problem will go. So that you would do d1 square, d2 square, d3 square, x1 square plus x2, x3. Still the things will be same, right? The what you have said before. Still x1 is doing better because the x1, x2, x3 is very less in comparison to d1, d2, d3. When you sum the square of these things, you still get the smaller number. So hence the criteria of this is that you want to minimize this expression, right? You want to minimize these expressions such that, and you want to do the best, right? Further, it will not be possible to minimize. So you want to come up with some line which can go very close to all these points. So this is known as a linear regression somewhere in very abstract in 5 minutes. So we will try to find out a line, right? So into what this is about 2 dimension. It may be happen that it is 3 dimension. In 3 dimension, I can have some points. So these points need to be go as close as to a plane, right? Can you visualize this point? Think if I'm in 3 dimension, I want to find out a plane such that it will go as close as to the all the given points. Can you
Yes,
visualize?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. So in general, I can go to any dimension. So when I go to some in general, if I'm 2 dimension, I say it's a line. If I'm 3 dimension, I am saying it's a plane. When I'm in n dimension, so it is hard to draw that these n dimension, let's say 4 dimension. Then I need to find out a 3 dimension hyperplane, that is known as hyperplane, right? So that hyperplane you need to find out such that it should go very close to the given data set. That is the ultimate objective, right? So I am trying to show you here is how to do it in a PyTorch. So I will go very quickly because it may be very advanced concept for you, but I will share these slides. I will share these like my Jupyter notebook and GitHub repository data set to you guys, and they will see, and you will go slowly over this, and it will make sense. But if you are getting any trouble while going through it, you can stop me anytime, right? Okay. So where I was. So so what is happening nowadays in deep learning? There is a lot of buzz in the market. Like everybody is behind like this machine learning and deep learning and making a lot of money out of it, getting good placements. And the people want to do manipulate the data in very different sense. So there is a one company known as Facebook. So it has devised one language, one abstraction of a Python known as PyTorch. So this PyTorch is very capable of handling these matrices, right? And doing some machine learning algorithm. So this PyTorch is specifically designed to do deep learning things, right? Because it manipulates tensors. So tensor is a generalized form of a matrix. So it can be 100 dimension, 500 dimension, or 200 dimension. So this PyTorch is designed for that. So I'm quickly going through over this linear regression problem to fit a data, right? So as I said that I want to fit a plane, I want to fit. So here these first three columns is my x, let's say x1, x2, x3. So what is happening in region Kanto? The temperature is 73 degree, the rainfall is 67 degree, the humidity is 43 degree, right? And the outcome is apple and oranges. So apple outcome is 56 tons of apple and 70 tons of oranges. Similarly, in Johto, if you get the temperature 91, the rainfall is 88, and the humidity is 64, the yield of apples is 81 ton, and the yield of oranges is 101 ton, right? So likewise, the data which in X form is given temperature, rainfall, and humidity, and in Y form, the apples and oranges are given to you. So you need to find out some n-dimensional hyperplane, right? So it is a multi-vector calculus problem, a multi-vector linear regression problem, because here your y is also a vector and your x is also a vector, right? But you don't need to think too much about this. But here what I'm trying to say is every time you give the x, let's say 73, 67, and 43, what is your yield of apple and oranges? So first we will fit a hyperplane here, and then for unseen x we will try to predict the value by by reading that hyperplane values, right? Okay, so just I will frame my problem statement here, because I'm saying that I want to fit some hyperplane. So hyperplane can be defined by these parameter w11, w12, and w13 with some intercept b1. Similarly, the yield of oranges can be defined again by three parameter w21, w22, w23, and some intercept, right? So in W matrix, I have 3 by 2 matrix, w11, w12, w13, w21, w22, w23, right? And for intercept, I have a matrix of 2 by 1, right? So this is just for like illustration purpose, but it is not anywhere corresponding to the data set, right? It is just for illustration, which I have already shown you on my PPT. Right. So I think here in this illustration, this rainfall, temperature, and apples, only one of the oranges or apples, only two dimensions are taken here: temperature and rainfall. And apple is shown here, the yield is shown, but third dimension is being dropped. So we are not exactly, our data set is temperature, rainfall, and humidity. Here humidity is not shown, but it is just for illustrations purpose, and you can ignore this figure right now. Okay, let's come to the PyTorch now. So again, we're going to need this numpy somewhere. When you import this torch, so you can write import torch as TP or something, but right now we are just importing it without any alias, right? So it's okay. Even you can do it import numpy without writing as NP. So it's always it's all good, right? No problem at all. So now we are just defining my data set. So this is my rain, humidity, and temperature for first Johto, Oronto, and all. So we have just put it into a matrix form here, NumPy array, right? So by using pandas, you can read a whole huge CSV file which can have 1000 rows. So that's why I told you pandas before. Right. And this is my target here. Target means what are the yield of apples and what is the yield of oranges for first city, second city, and so on, right? Okay, so I just defined my what are my x and what are my y, right? So y is a vector, x is also a vector. Okay, so first I'm using some libraries, NumPy, to convert my input to a tensor, right? So NumPy, when I am defining something in NumPy, it was an n-dimensional array, right? But in PyTorch, the same data you need to convert or transform into a tensor. So there is some functions given, so you just pass your input and it convert it to a torch tensor. So this input is now a tensor. Before, when you defined somewhere here, it was a NumPy array. So you convert some NumPy array into a tensor, which is this. So now your input and targets is converted to a tensor because PyTorch can handle tensors only, right? So now you print input, you see that this is a tensor here, right? It's a tensor. And when you print your, when you do this, it is the n-dimensional array. So you have converted n-dimensional array into a tensor. Okay. Then I'm just trying to define my parameters, which is W, right? So in matrix form, I can write it, this was my temperature, this was my rain, and this is humidity, this is W11, W12, and in matrix multiplication, I can write this, right? How many of you can make this sense? So I'm writing the same equation, which is here, right? The same equation, right? This same equation. W11, W12, W13, temperature, rainfall, humidity, temperature, rainfall, humidity. It is common, right? So we are writing into a matrix form. And this B1, B2 is a vector here, right? So if you see this here, so this B1, B2 is a vector for each row. And this is first row, W11, 67 multiplied by W12, 43 multiplied by W13, right? Similarly, for second row, W3, 73 is multiplied by W21, 67 multiplied by W22, and 43 multiplied by W23, right? And you should be at B2. So it is nothing but rewriting the same thing into a matrix form so that it can be manipulated by the PyTorch in a tensor form. Okay, so you are just multiplying x with W plus B. So this is your model, right? To do a linear regression. And you want to minimize this value from the target, right? So this is your prediction when you take it randomly. So you see that whatever you're predicting is very, very far away from the data that is given to you. You want to minimize it, right? So what you do, you just take what are your predictions, what is given in your data, you subtract it, right? When you subtract it, you have to take a square of it. So you are taking this, you are multiplying it with itself. So you are doing square, right? And you are taking sum of all those squares. So it is total criteria, which I have just shown you, D1 square plus D2 square plus D3 square, right? And just you are normalizing it then, right? You are normalizing it with the length of the element in a vector. So you're normalizing it now. And it will give you the loss, like how better you are fitting your line to the data. So the less far it is from your data, the good you are doing on it, right? So if you are just taking a random some line and you are trying to see like what you are doing, so your loss is very huge. See, 2406. So this is, you are doing very, very bad on this. So what you can do, you just like try to fit a line, and there is a theory available on gradient descent. So what it says that you should tune a line, right? You can just change the slope and you can tune the intercept. To tune these things, there is one concept available in mathematics known as gradient, right? So the greater the gradient is, you need to move the faster there, right? So this is like then by just finding it out how bad you are doing on it, you need to tune your W's, right? This is ultimately what you have to do. So this is your print W, print grad, like what are the grad, and then you're fitting, and then you're taking step by step these things. You're doing step by step the functionality, right? So I am just, see, this is how abstractly you are doing. You are taking 100 times tuning your W line, right? In terms of parameters. So how about the parameter intercept and slope? So you first predict your how good your line is doing, then you calculate your loss, right? You calculate your loss. Like once you just predict and you calculated your loss, you got to know that how bad you are doing. Then you take a step, right? Then you take a step and tune your W. So it means you are changing your intercept and you changing a slope slightly, right? And then take a step. You do it 100 times and then stop it. So if you see here clearly, I'm just running a for loop on it. So you see this clearly. So at first your loss was 2400, then your loss was 1100, and slowly by after 100 iterations, you see that you just get only 890. Okay, this is at last you will get 552 loss, right? And if you try too hard on this, let's say I'm running it for this, let's say 200 iterations. Let's see, right now I'm somewhere on 500. Oops, I need to run all these things. Okay. God, Mhm. Okay, so I was saying that, see, at first in 100 iteration you had some 500 loss, and now when you are trying taking 200 step and you try to tune your line slowly and trying to fit it one by one, and so that it should be close to always to a data samples, and you do it with, yeah, is there any question? I think somebody is having an unmuted mic. Can you please mute it, or if you don't have any question? Okay, so then you ultimately then you what you do, just you try to see like how good you are doing. So this is what your target to given in your data set. And oops, okay, so before moving on, so this is all right. So I'm not focusing too much because it may be very beyond about to your course curriculum or your knowledge right now. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer. Otherwise, I will go to the next topic. Is there any question, guys?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. So ultimately, I'm just skipping all this. Right, this is too heavy. I will just show you few MATLAB commands here, right, which will help you a lot in plotting and doing something. So I have gone over NumPy, right? So I try to give you briefly an abstraction. I told you that NumPy takes a lot of years to get expertise, but I have just tried to pick up a few good commands which help you a lot in doing a quick start. Then I give you a brief introduction about pandas, right, which will again help you to get a quick start on doing something. Then I have given you a brief, nice abstract introduction about PyTorch, which ultimately help you to doing the things eventually to help you to solve the problems in a recent advanced way the people do nowadays, researchers do, right? Now ultimately last which is pretty much required to visualize your results in your laboratories or in your research. So this is known as matplot library. What it do, it just takes it help you to plot the things. I have already given you a small demonstration in the beginning of the lecture, but I will redo the same thing again. So you're importing a NumPy as NP, and again Matplot library, because it is coming from MATLAB, and you are importing it as PLT, right? So you are taking two vectors x, right, and y. So let's say this is your data x and y, so which is defined such that, so you can plot it x comma y. So when you write plot, right, just a minute. When you write plot, right, so the thing that you will see here is a line. So what will happen here? What will happen here, that all the points 10 comma 20, right? So this is a 10 comma 20, 20 comma 30, 20 comma 30, 70 comma 40, 70 comma 40, right? And 50, 40 comma 50. This is 40 comma 50. It take all the points and connect them through a line. This plot will do this thing. If you are really interested in seeing like what all the points separately, rather than writing plot, you just write scatter, right? So when you write scatter, you see these points. So it's up to you, like whether you want to see them individually or you want to connect them, right? So if you want to connect them, you will see like plot. You can do it same time also. Plot x comma y. So here you can see both things. Even you can just take a color also. Red. So it's up to you, like there are a lot of flexibility available. So green, blue, right? So it's up to you, like by default it's blue here. Let's make it red. Okay, so this is a matplot. So there are two ways. I just told you to scatter plot, and so and the other is plot, right? Okay. So in your work, sometimes it is needed to label to just define the range of your axis. For an example, on x-axis you want to define that it should go from 0 to 6. So this is 0 to 6, and on y-axis you want to define it from 0 to 20. So your y-axis is defined from 0 to 20. You can vary this range. So you are saying here that plot.axis, on x-axis it should go from 0 to 6, and on y-axis it should go from 0 to 20, right? And you want to plot this data. Rather than that plot, you should make it scatter, that we can clearly see that what it is there, right? Okay, so this is my original data, and I'm putting it there. So if I'm doing it here this way, so you can see that I'm unnecessarily going on x-axis from 0 to 16, which is not required. So you can just chop the extra section to make it more clear, close studies, right? Okay. Sometimes it is required that you want to plot two plots side by side, right? So there is a way to do that. So you remember this PLT is nothing but import matplot.pyplot as PLT, right? So this is the same PLT. So you just saying that PLT.subplot, it means you want to do subplotting. So there is one plot, big plot, and in this one big plot there are two subplots. So you are saying it, you are referring it as a matrix, right? So first row, right? So, sorry. So it is, this thing is saying that you have one row and two columns, right? And this is indexing here. So this 1 comma 2 is saying there is one row and two column, and you just want to refer to a first column. It is showing that first row and two column, and it is referring to a second column, right? Referring to a second column. And in this particular plot, you are just plotting x comma y, and this plot you are just plotting a scatter, right? And this is like how you can do it. right? This show sometimes it may confuse you if you just write show. So what it do, it just plot it and then show it at that time only, right? It will not wait for the second subplot. And if you do this thing here, you just see that because of the show command, it is not showing in parallel, but like upside one over the other, because this show what it say that you don't wait for the other and just plot it right now. But if I just to make it more meaningful, you just make it this way, and this is like in parallel, right? Okay, sometimes you also need that you want to plot it in like 3 dimension, right? So this there is a lot capabilities much available here in this Python in Matplotlib. So this is a package, you can just import the 3D, right? So this is a figure equals to plt.plot figure. So this figure you are saying that subplot projection 3 dimensions, you want to plot a 3 dimension. So these are the 3 points. 1 comma 4 comma 2, so this is for first point. 2 comma 5 comma 2 is second point. 3 comma 6 comma 2 is a third point. So either you can plot it and scatter plot it, it's up to you. So this is my scatter 3 points in a 3 dimension. And if you want to just plot it, means you want to join all them through a line, this is also fine, right? Okay,
इधर रखो, साबुन चेयर में रखो भाई, तेरा गाना बंद करो।
oops, somebody is unmuting his mic. Okay, so finally this is sklearn mod, sklearn import linear regression. So I will just go quickly within 5 minutes what I am doing. So sklearn is a library available for Python. It have a very powerful algorithms available here. You can import it and do lot of things in machine learning, right? Or in data science. So for an example, the thing that we have done for using PyTorch, we can also do through sklearn, right? So I'm saying that import sklearn linear model, which is already available there. So you just import that capability. You just give X and Y. So you're trying to fit a line here. So this is your X and this is your particular Y. You want to fit a line. The only thing that you need to do here is just a click, right? So you're saying linear regression fit X comma Y. This is all you need to do, and it will give you a model. What this model contains, it gives you an intercept and slope, right? This is intercept and slope directly in one shot. No looping, no gradient, no stepping, nothing. So I think for you guys, it is much recommendable that you should just go and walk through this sklearn, right? So it has a lot of capability. For example, linear regression, logistic regression, clustering, mining, everything available in there, ready-made. So you need to just import it and run over your data, and it will give you the result. For an example, here we have a data and we are fitting a line. So you don't need to see anything here inside. So you just passing your data and you want to say that you just fit a line. So in one shot, it give you a model, and model is nothing but a line, and line is defined by intercept and slope. So this model is containing a parameters. Then you say model dot intercept. What is intercept of a line? Model dot coefficient, which is a slope, right? So you are just reading intercept and slope. And with this new line, which you just got it, you can predict your new values of X, right? So for unknown values of X, which was not there in a data set, you just using those X values, and then you are predicting it for that, right? And this is all. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
You can use sklearn or PyTorch, either one.
Can you repeat it? I'm a bit not audible.
Sir, can we use sklearn by default or not use torch?
Right now, you don't need to use a PyTorch. It is just for your knowledge that there is something in this world which can do, which people are using right now, because but it's a more advanced concept. But for you guys right now, it is much recommendable to go through sklearn, right? So once you're done with the sklearn thing, you fit the things, then you just proceed with PyTorch for in your higher degree programs.
Sir? Sir? Am I audible, sir?
मना करी थी ना, मम्मी को बोलूंगा सर।
Sorry, I was disconnected. So, and questions. So, I just said that like right now, PyTorch, just keep it in your head, but you will first start with this sklearn kit, and then you just go through it with different algorithms and try to run it over your data sets. And then once you're done with this sklearn, you just then go to this PyTorch thing, right? Any, next question, any other question?
Dr. Chauhan, do you suggest some advanced course to the participants?
Yeah, so for those guys who are really interested in like moving into the field of this data science and machine learning, so there are very good courses available on Coursera by Andrew Ng, right? So you just write on Google like Coursera Andrew Ng machine learning. So there will be a course available. You just go through it. It is very in very short sense, it is fundamentally described to the beginners, and there are short lectures available there. You just go through them, and you all things make sense to you guys. Then whatever I have got to teach, whatever I've given you a practical aspect, so for theory you can refer to all those things there.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please explain any machine learning algorithm like SVM? Can you please could you please take any machine learning algorithm, and could you please explain about parameters? What are the parameters in the model to understand machine learning?
Okay, so I will try because I have time left. So I will try this question for you. Just a minute. Okay, so what support vector machine says that, right? For an example, in 2-dimension, you have some points. So let's say I have some boys here and some girls with height and weight. So you are plotting it. So let's say this is height and this is weight, right? Okay, so this is height and this is weight, right? So what support vector machine says that you want to classify if somebody tells the height, let's say I am saying that the height of a person is this and the weight of the person is this, right? So you somewhere come here. This is your point you want to classify. So whether you want to classify it to as a girls or whether you want to classify this point as to a boys, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, in the model, using sklearn library, in the model, there will be there are so many parameters like random size, whatever. So how could we change the parameters to get a better model? That is my question. So
you don't need to change it. You need to fit it, right? Like we are fitting into a linear. You need to fit that model, right? So the whatever
parameters.
Right.
If default parameters are not working, then to get our better accuracy and prediction, so how could we change like that? That is my question for research.
No. For sklearn kit, you don't need to do anything. That I told you, right? So if you see this thing here clearly, like I showed you a linear regression. If you remember, there was a lot of things that you need to do for tuning. But here in one line, what you're doing, just fit that line by providing a data. So all things will be done internally, though that is being coded, and these parameters will come here in model. Then you use these model parameters like here for prediction, right? You predict it for the new values. The same thing you need to do for support vector machines also. Rather than importing a linear model, you need to import a support vector machine here. Right? But for a research purpose, you don't, this is for the practical classes, right? For 12th and 10th. But if you are really interested in doing and tuning parameters, you need to move to the PyTorch. That's what I explained you. Yeah, any other question?
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful lecture.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
And I hope all the participants have learned some useful packages of Python from your lecture, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.